You all are welcome to this webinar, which has a very unique name required by all of us, Reset Zindagi, under this lockdown period. Right on the onset, I would like to thank each one of you for joining us.
लैपटॉप में अपने कंप्यूटर में F5 बटन तो दबाए होगा रिफ्रेश करने के लिए. So the corona has done the same thing. We all are at zero now and we have to start from zero.
So आज की जो तिथि है और आज के जो हमारे अच्छे से ग्रेट स्पीकर हैं सीए अमित अरोड़ा जी, इनसे बेहतर वक्तवा और कौन हो सकते थे कि आपका एक मार्गदर्शक करें और अच्छी सी एक राह दिखाएं और आप और हम सब आज एक बार फिर एक अध्यापक ना होके एक विद्यार्थी बन जाएं. वो कहते हैं ना, चलिए आप और हम सब स्कूल चलें एक बार फिर. और आज के हमारे अध्यापक हैं सीए अमित अरोड़ा जी. Over to him.
The team says I'm the opening batsman, so let me express my gratitude to them. Let me say thank you to Surendra Ahuja sir, Sunil Keswani sir, CA Kamal Garg sir, Manisha Jaiswal ma'am, PS Govind Mishra sir, and CA Jagjit Singh sir for organizing Reset Zindagi. And the topic for today's one-hour session is financial stress or smile. Let me first and foremost begin with a prayer for everyone. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from illness. The year 2020 has brought certain challenges for all of us. We have to practice a few things to ensure each other's safety. Social distancing, wearing mask, very essential. So the whole world is one big happy family. And as Prime Minister has given a clarion call, if you talk about India, we have to focus on Atmanirbharta. But from the world to India, if you talk about the smallest constituent of the society, it's family. So anytime, any stress, being together can really help mental health, can nourish mental well-being. So families are our greatest support and strength. Thank you very much everyone who's joined us today, wherever you are across the world, joining through various social media avenues. Thank you once again for joining us in this session. Please note the hashtag through which you can communicate with us, hashtag Reset Zindagi. So on the topic today, financial stress or smile, if you have any questions, you can put it on the chat. You can also tweet me at am I good? Being a journalist, I love asking questions. So the first poll question I want to ask everyone before we go to the guests, are you experiencing financial stress or smile? If it is stress, type stress, chat box. If it is smile, type smile. Jagjit sir, please help me.
Maximum they are typing stress and few for smile.
So those who are saying smile, please share your experience as well, because we need to amplify those. And for those who are saying stress, I am giving an assurance this beautiful evening that between us, we will ensure that we transform that stress into smile by the time session ends. At least we will empower you with certain tools. So welcome to the topic financial stress or smile. We're extremely honored to have Dr. Priya with us, Associate Professor, Psychology, Aditi Mahavidyalaya with University of Delhi. She's a trained counselor with special interest in well-being and mental health, with an experience closing in on a silver jubilee. So Dr. Priya, thank you so much. A lot of people may feel if I have some violence issues, if I am having some heartbreak or a breakup, then only I go to a psychologist. If I'm having financial stress, can I then also knock the doors of a psychologist?
A very relevant question. And I think it should be an eye-opener for everybody when I answer this, that for any kind of stress, be it financial, trauma, relationship, anything in life, I think you should always think of a psychologist, because they are professionally trained and they can certainly help you, whether you're facing financial stress or any other kind of stress.
So if I come to you saying that I've been unemployed for some time, if I don't have enough money to pay the EMI on 31st of May? How can you help me?
So I guess the most important thing is that points that I would probably be, talking to you. One should always focus on the things that are in one's control rather than focusing on things which are not in your control. Right? For example, you don't know whether you will be able to retain your job or you'll be able to pay your EMIs. There is one thing that you can be sure of, and that is your own potential. Because I have seen a lot of people who are, turning their hobbies into money-making ventures right now. And there
Yes.
are also others who are, and there are others who are honing up their skills, like it is back to school. So they are honing up their skills. They say, ma'am, we have time at hand. And the good news is that there are a lot of organizations which are offering courses which are free of cost. So the rules have changed. The game has changed.
Yes.
In fact, I was going through the other day tests for that matter, and so many foreign universities, they are giving courses which are professional courses, online and free of cost. So why not go back to school?
Right.
I think, but having said all that, the first thing is that you have to stay positive. Only then would you be in a position to think of things to do, probably. That is the
Right.
most important take back home message.
Okay. I think that's a very profound message, that you have to perhaps develop internal locus of control, not get rattled by extraneous circumstances. And perhaps one big learning lesson that lockdown days have taught us is that we have to invest in our own caliber. Once you have a skill, it is like a blank check which will be encashed at a certain point of time. At this stage, it is my honor to welcome the second guest for the evening, Navdeep Arora. He's an active advisor and investor in insurance and financial services. He's been previously senior partner at Mckinsey and Company, has worked there for a whopping 16 years, and he has done MBA from the eminent Harvard University. Navdeep, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Navdeep,
can.
welcome Navdeep ji in this program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So, Navdeep, you're joining us from Dallas, Texas, US, and you are a financial security expert. We just heard Dr. Priya B, eminent psychologist. So let me ask you, how do you see the connect between psychology and financial protection?
I think Dr. Priya's preamble to our emotional response in these circumstances was brilliant. And I think it sets the stage for how we think about financial security in such, in times of crisis. Our natural response in these situations is fear. I think our DNA is programmed for panicking. It is programmed for flight or fight. And so our first reaction is fear. And that fear drives us to panic and actually do more of what we have been doing in the past, rather than stop and really think about the situation. So I think the first, when it comes to protecting our families and securing our financial future, the first thing we have to do is fight fear. And practically, I think what it means is that this is the time, or this is the day, the rainy day that we have been saving for. If you look at the Indian economy, or literally the global economy, since the 2008 crisis, I think economies have in general flourished. Indian GDP has grown massively since 2008. I think the capital markets, the equity markets have done exceedingly well. The middle class has grown, and I'm assuming that all of our incomes have actually taken a positive trajectory if they haven't, really multiplied, but still they've been on a positive trajectory since 2008. So you would assume that all of us have some amount of savings for the rainy day. So the question is, what do we do? In my opinion, this is the time not to save, but to spend wisely. To spend wisely to protect the immediate future for ourselves and for our families. And really overcome the natural instinct or the emotional response that Dr. Priya referred to of fear. Because fear will force us to, again, basically continue saving, which I do not think will help our immediate financial future. So that's the second thing, second suggestion I have, which is spend wisely and not continue, panicking and saving more and more, because saving at this time, in this rainy day, is not going to help us. And spending wisely will, as Amit mentioned earlier, turn our stress into smiles.
Just to recap the learnings that we've had so far. So the first thing is that how do we ensure that we have a source of income? Because financial stress could be because I'm unemployed. So I show you now a photograph where I had a conversation with eminent filmmaker Subhash Ghai, and you can find the entire interview on this YouTube link. You'll be surprised to know that while Subhash Ghai is the showman, having made super hit films like Kali Charan, Vishwanath, Ram Lakhan, Khalnayak, he on the program said that once he passed out from the prestigious FTII Pune, he was unemployed for 4 years. Subhash Ghai, the showman, says he was unemployed for 4 years. Dr. Priya, I'm seeing your expression and the whole idea that sometimes the younger generation today, even if they are unemployed for 4 months, they come under depression. So if you tune to this interview, very profoundly Subhash Ghai says that your struggle period is the best institute. Because when you pass out, say as a chartered accountant or a company secretary or an advocate, MBA, lawyer, psychologist, you have an opinion. But during your struggle days, you have enhanced perception of life. So one, how do I convert unemployment or my struggle period into an enhanced perception is what we need to learn. Second, once you are on job and you have income, you should know that there is a phrase called save for rainy days. While we studied that in school, but as Navdeep mentions, when the rainy days come, we are apprehensive of spending money. Navdeep is saying that these are the rainy days.
So the third question then becomes, okay, so how do I spend it wisely? What does that mean? My first suggestion is that there are some very, very simple insurance-related protection solutions that can offer very simple and inexpensive protection for ourselves and our families for the near term, for I would say the short term post-COVID economy. And let me talk about what I mean by that. What I'm referring to are very simple, trigger-driven, fixed benefit type of insurance policies that can provide cash resources in case of emergencies for yourself and your families. There are 4 types of these insurances. One is what I call a simple term life insurance. A simple term life insurance basically is a life insurance you can purchase for a fixed term, for example, 5 years. And what happens is, if something unfortunate happens to a policyholder, the families of the policyholder basically receive the death benefits and can give them the means to survive through these difficult times. Again, these a term life policy is very cheap. It's not as expensive as the whole life policies that we are used to, that continue on for years and years. The second suggestion I have is a product called, again, a very simple trigger-driven fixed benefit product called Hospital Cash. It's a policy you can purchase that will give you a fixed benefit, let's say, 20 lakh rupees or 25 lakh rupees, in case a person gets hospitalized. Any hospitalization will trigger a fixed benefit, which can be a massive resource in these difficult times. The third one I would refer to is an unemployment cash benefit. If any one of us lose our jobs temporarily or have a gap in our employment, an unemployment benefit will again trigger a short-term benefit. And then the last one I would suggest is a short-term disability cover, disability insurance. If for any reason a person gets disabled or is unable to work because of health reasons, this will give your family the wherewithals for a short period of time to cover the gap. So there are some very simple solutions that, if we spend wisely, can turn our stresses into smiles.
My next question, Dr. Priya B, given the fact that we have experienced the lockdown days, and now with the digital push we are seeing, all of us on Zoom, many are connected across the globe through different social media avenues. How do you see the work culture and the nature of skills required for work change in the post-corona world?
The focus here has to be agile in our planning, to be connected, because, when our Prime Minister Modi ji says social distancing, what actually he means is not a social disconnect. Technology has many ways in which we can be connected with each other right now, both in giving and in receiving, I feel. We have to be empathetic. We have to build up employee assistance programs somewhere now. And talking about mental health, I think right now we have 197 million people in India who are affected by mental health. And we are seeing a surge of 20% in the coming times. This is as per the data of Indian Psychiatry Society.
Given the fact, Navdeep, we have to perhaps learn how to work remotely. How do you see the digital push? What would be the challenges and opportunities for me to earn and therefore understand the technology and the digital medium?
Amit, that's a very, very relevant question during these times. Let me ask everyone on the webinar a simple question. How many of us have online access, direct access to our financial assets and resources? So what I mean by that is our bank accounts, our insurance policies, our investments for retirement, and our will. How many of us can actually access those sitting in your living room at home online?
What's the trend you are seeing, Navdeep? Usually, would you say that we are ignorant about it and therefore we may have assets, yet no liquidity, and therefore stress because we never digitized it?
Absolutely. I think physical access to things, as you know, has become a challenge during the lockdown and the quarantine periods. And so being able to access your financial assets and your resources in a way that you can actually use them sitting in your in your living room is critically important. And I've been asking that question to several of my friends and colleagues, and I have to be honest, right? I think less than 30% of the people have given me an affirmative, confident answer that yes, they can do that. So I would encourage all of us to really think about that and say, can you right now log in and say, oh, here's my health insurance policy if I need to claim it, right? Here's how I can move money from my savings account to my checking account so I can access it now, right? Here's, here are my investments, and maybe I need to change my portfolio. Can I do that now? Because I'm not going to have access to my financial planner, right? Here's my will, right? So I would really, and I can tell you, given the type of resources that are available today, via banks and via insurance companies, it is very easy to do that. It will only take you half an hour to an hour, and you'll sit in your living room, and I promise you, it'll turn a lot of your stresses into smiles.
In fact, we're just getting a message where Geetu says that her father, Lalit Mohan, never had his bank account digitized, and he's realizing that it was so important for internet banking. So even if we are getting a lot of affirmative reactions that yes, we have digitized, then the professionals have the responsibility to ensure an aware world where others also digitize. Dr. Priya B, whatever assets you've made in 24 years of teaching, do you have digital access to them?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was rethinking. I think Mr. Arora has really pointed out very well that yes, we have to rethink. I don't have access to my health insurance policies. You're right. I do have access to my banking, but not my health insurance policies. And at this moment, I think that is something which counts.
So let me then make everyone aware. If you're ready to get knowledge on this, let me share about DG Locker. DG Locker is a Digital India initiative. This is under the Department of Electronics, Government of India, and it's very easy. Do you have to go and open Digital Locker? No. Everyone who's tuned in right now, even Dr. Priya B, your Digital Locker is already open. If you have a car, automatically there is a Digital Locker given to the citizens of the country. And therefore, if your 10th class mark sheet, 12th class certificate, Delhi University certificate, if they have done it digitized automatically through Aadhaar, it will be in your Digital Locker. So everyone, go to the website, look at your Digital Lockers by logging in through Aadhaar and see what all important certificates and documents are already there. It will ensure a paperless society as well, because DigiLocker is an online document storage facility. Now, please have a closer look at this slide. This is very essential. This is what is known as India Stack. 4 pillars for your financial stress to convert into financial style. Every Indian citizen needs to understand this and make sure once you understand, you help your neighbor understand as well. So if you look at the bottom, presence less layer. Now this is regulated by the Unique Identification Authority of India, UIDAI. And because now we have Aadhaar card, mobile, therefore a lot of work can happen without the presence. We don't require in-person. So presence less. Remember, India has the power of billion cubes. We have over 1 billion population, over 1 billion people with mobile phones in their hand, and then over 1 billion people with Aadhaar. Power of billion cube. And that will ensure a presence less layer. Second pillar, paperless. This is under the Department of Electronics, which I just mentioned. Government of India. So whether it is e-sign, whether it is e-KYC, whether it is DigiLocker, this is all for our help. The next layer is cashless. This is regulated by NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. So whether it is the UPI, And here, my smartphone, I have UPI here. Click a button and I can transfer 1 crore to Jagdeep sir. Indeed, sir, that's just an example. And lastly, you've got RBI, the apex bank, the regulator to ensure security is in place. Nothing will happen without your consent. But in digital arena, it's essential that you make yourself learn it and you don't just click anything, but you have to endorse this. So if you are following the consent layer, cashless layer, paperless layer, presence-less layer, together these 4 pillars constitute India stack. And if you want to know more about it in detail, because in this session we have to respect time, here's the YouTube link. CA Amit Arora, Digital India. And there I had a 1-hour live discussion with the Director General of NIC, representative of the Ministry of Electronics, Government of India, and representative of Niti Aayog, the think tank, and also representative from Indira Gandhi National Center of the Arts, who on the program made a very interesting revelation. He said, what percentage of information can you access on Google? And the answer was only 15%, 1-5. Yes, as incredible it may sound, today when somebody goes on Google, one can access only 15%. The moment the representative on my show answered that, my reflex action, sir, how do I get access to 85%? He said, Amit, libraries. We have to digitize libraries. He said, we have hundreds of manuscripts that has of information, but we have to take the task of digitizing, and then all of that will become accessible. Meanwhile, while you go to Google, the importance of libraries, importance of talking to people. And that's why, as Dr. Priya said, while social distancing, we are saying it, it is only meaning physical distancing. This lockdown, you can to elders, sit with family, enjoy webinars like these, and increase your knowledge. Dr. Priya, when I want to do a startup, I need finances. And there are 5 sources. I bootstrap, I put in my own savings to tell the other investor that, see, I'm also putting my stake. The second step is I go to my family members and friends. Then the angel investors who are willing to take high risk, mostly individuals. Then you have venture capitalists, and finally going public, like the initial public offer. The question I want to ask the eminent psychologist, Dr. Priya, if I am running short of money, there is financial distress, should I reach out to my family and friends? Usually one sees guilt in asking, how do I approach this issue?
I think the important factor here is, number one, most important, the first one probably, is your own conviction in your potentials, whether you will be able to pay back the amount that you're going to borrow from people. Second thing would be that I guess you have to be a very credible source for people to honor you and to actually give you their hard-earned money, and that too in these times which are so uncertain.
Navdeep, as an investor, if you look at the graph that I'm showing right now, usually there's a seed where one puts one's own money and perhaps also takes some money from family and friends who are willing to give. And then you've got the angels. But we're saying there's a valley of death there, because maybe 6 or 7 startups out of 10 may not necessarily go further. And then at the early stage where the VCs come, you take debt, sometimes the leverage may be much more, and you may feel that, okay, debt is easy source, but you have to pay regular interest payments, which could become a cause for financial stress. So as we look at this chart, and as India is now having a more conducive environment to start up, how do you see areas where financial stress could happen, and how can we ensure a smile in that phase by being proactive?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think if in general, the entire economic system, regardless of whether you are working for a corporation, running a corporation, or doing a startup, I think there will be, and and as Dr. Priya said earlier, I think it's important for us to face the facts, right? So let's face it, there will be stress. Let's acknowledge that stress. And only when we acknowledge that stress, look the stress in his face, will we be able to fight the natural fear that it brings forth, right? So, so that's number one. The second question is, what is economic stress going to look like during these times? One, we know that corporations will come out of this COVID, and in the post-COVID environment, they will be cutting costs. There will be financial pressures, right? And let's face it, there will be, there will be headcount rationalizations. There will be cost-cutting efforts. Number two, there will be greater focus. There will be greater pressure on all of us to deliver with less, to achieve financial targets with less resources. That will put pressure, right? Number three, I think I'm assuming a lot of people today are associated, are professionals, and I'm assuming, Amit, that a lot of the people today come with either a financial background or a chartered accountancy background, and I think if you look back at history, every time during times of crisis, compliance, professional conduct, and ethical risks are something that have always become a challenge. When we feel that we are stuck between a rock and a hard place, when we have pressures from the regulators, when we have pressures from our employers, we tend to cut corners. And that can expose us to reputational and risk issues that we must be very, very aware of.
Absolutely.
And then, coming back to your real question, if I'm doing a startup, and I'm in need of money at this time, I think my honest suggestion, and maybe I'm myself an investor, but if I put myself in the shoes of a person who's running a startup and is in need of money, I think a rash action at this time could result in very high amounts of debt that you will find it hard to pay back, or number two, in your desperation, going out and getting investments from venture capital, from VCs, and diluting your equity stake, because VCs, they ask for, they'll give you money, but they'll ask for a significant share of your company in return, right? And they all know that a lot of startups are suffering because of COVID, right? So please do not become a victim to that, and find ways to bridge this gap. Explain it to your employees and work together. I think I'll give you an example. A startup I'm working with that is going through similar issues because the demand is down. They're tight on finances, and they've all come together as a team and said, we're all going to take a 30% pay cut for 3 months. And that has enabled them not to seek additional debt, not to go out and lose a ton of equity to venture capitalists. And they're very confident that they'll be able to weather the storms. So I think I would suggest conservative measures that can bridge you through this time of distress, rather than going out and borrowing money or giving away a ton of your equity for financial help.
Navdeep, one last question before we go to the audience and have the question and answer session from the feedback we are getting from the participants. One last question from my side. A lot of people may have been invested in stock markets. So if you look at the management of portfolio of investments, should they hold on to it Should they sell? Because sometimes one does see panic reaction, a knee-jerk reaction. Your quick advice.
My very quick and very firm advice, when I say firm, I believe very strongly in this, is in 80% of the cases, the answer would be hold. Hold on to your equity or stock investments. And I realize that we are panicking. The markets are down, so the value of our stocks and shares has obviously suffered. It is, and I'm assuming in some instances, even taken a nosedive. And our natural reaction would be to sell. Oh, let me minimize my losses and sell. But remember, what you're seeing is merely a loss on paper at the moment. You do not lose money, you haven't lost anything till you have sold them. And
Yes.
we're going through a downturn. Things are going to recover, and the losses you're experiencing on paper, the stresses will turn into smiles. So my suggestion is hold on to them, and do not, in your nervousness and anxiety, go out and sell and take massive losses.
Excellent. That's very, very informative message from both our guests, Navdeep Arora and Dr. Priya. Let me take a minute to recap whatever our learnings have been to convert stress into smile when it comes to our financial management before we open the question answer session. So first and foremost, acknowledge that there is stress. These are challenging times. And the moment there is acceptance, then you have the ability to fight the natural instinct of fear. Savings is essential all these months when you are earning. But when you are saving for the rainy days. These are the rainy days. For those who are unemployed, no worries. This is a struggle period, the best institute. And as the guest said, this is the time to hone your skills. This is the time to increase your caliber, because now we are very much in the knowledge-driven economy. But the nature of work will also change, and there will be a digital push. So whether you are having a liking for it or not, but to be tech savvy, to have an understanding of data analytics, artificial intelligence, all of this is very essential. But as Navdeep mentioned, the overarching professional conduct is so very important. This is where reputation, ethics becomes so very critical, that we are true to our conscience and we are conscious of what we are doing as a professional. So if we do keep all of this in mind, then we as human beings have the innate capability to ensure that the emotion of stress can convert into emotion of smile. And on that smiling note, let me go to CA Jagjit Singh sir. Sir, if there are some questions, then we can take a few if time permits.
Everybody is saying the session was very good, very informative, and thank you very much for this Amit Arora sir. So you join us, and the Priya also.
One question I would like to ask Navdeep, many people are asking here on Twitter, is it the right time to be a salaried person, even if it means, like you said, taking 10 to 20% cut? Or is it the salaried employee who's having sleepless nights, not knowing if he'll be handed a pink slip tomorrow morning?
My response to that is that in the past, today, or in the future, and especially in the future, a focus on building your capabilities will be the centerpiece, right? So I think if the question is the choice between being a salaried employee and depending on an organization or a corporation for your livelihood versus being a person who has a level of capability that is relevant to these times, right? Then obviously that's where I would go, right? And what I would like to stress very highly is, regardless of the profession you're in, whether you are a chartered accountant, whether you're a technologist, whether you are a psychologist or a medical doctor or an investment banker, I think there are two capabilities that I believe is going to change all of our professions and become a must-have, a table stake for our success in the very immediate future. And my suggestion to everyone would be to deeply reflect on and invest in building capabilities in those two areas if you want to stay relevant. Those two areas are, number one, technology and remote work, including digital access. It is going to change everybody's lives. It's going to change how we work. The second one is data analytics. Our ability to look at the data this world is producing. Let me throw a small number, an astonishing number at you. When I learned this, it shocked me. By 2030, in 10 years, there will be 500 billion sensory data points being emitted every day and being collected by IoT. Everyone's heard IoT, the Internet of Things, right?
Yes.
So you divide that by 7 billion people. Each one of us will have 250 data points that somebody will be tracking. Each one of us. It'll be data points about our body, data points about our ecosystem, and data points about our property. And data will be used to analyze everything. And I'm not suggesting that we all go out and learn mathematics and statistics, but all I'm suggesting is that we make ourselves comfortable with data analytics tools, right?
Yes. Yes.
So once again, our ability to use technology and digital technology in particular, and analyze data, will keep us relevant in the times to come. And if we do not, I think I'm afraid that we will all, regardless of our professions, continue to lose our relevance in the professional world.
Can I add something here?
Yes, please.
What Mr. Arora said here was something very relevant and makes a whole lot of sense. I also want to add that I think it's not about a private job, or it's about a government job, or a job in an autonomous sector. I feel the smugness ends here. So there are a lot of people who tell me that we have got a sarkari naukriya, and it is a ticket to lifelong peace. And I guess it's just like people. I mean, earlier people used to say, "Hum to ab sarkari damad ho gaye hai." I think that smugness ends here. It is not about that at all. And like Mr. Arora just said, it is about building on your potentials, which is very important right now.
Yes.
And also, I feel that though it might not be very relevant in the short term, but probably in the long term, if we kind of, I think Mr. Arora can enhance upon this or enlighten me also. I was looking towards these passive income streams there, whereby you can write a blog, or through websites, or you focus on a niche where you can actually enjoy researching about or doing something more general. Like, for example, it will take you time to build an audience and a solid base, but somewhere it would be very paying, because that is something that we are looking forward to right now. Blogs and YouTube videos, websites, so many other things. I think when we were talking about remote support also, I think this is the time. It might be time consuming. It might take you a lot of credibility, a lot of dedication, and also hard work to build that solid base. But once you build it and you have a strong audience which follows you, I think you have arrived.
I think diversity of income is very essential. So you may have an active income, but if you have certain other skills, you can perhaps explore passive income as well. As has been the traditional proverb, that don't lay all the eggs in one basket. It is in times like these you realize a little earning from hobby or some other skill can come very handy, like Dr. P said, writing a blog or doing something like that. Thank you very much, Navdeep Arora, Dr. Priya. Yes.
I just wanted to point out 43% of the global workforce today is involved in the gig economy. Gig economy is basically demand-driven, part-time, real-time work that we can perform virtually. 43%, and this number in the next 10 years will double. So the opportunities to use our skills and capabilities remotely, virtually, regardless of physical borders, can create tremendous opportunities for us, as Dr. Priya pointed out.
Absolutely. So gig economy is where you require a combination of skill plus will. So at your own time, leveraging the skill that you have, you can earn money. Revenues are so very essential for financial smile. Let me thank once again Navdeep Arora and Dr. Priya Beer. And I have this beautiful poem which has been shared by Nakul. And this is on the digital push. And he says, Faile vaile ab nahi, laine vaine ab nahi. Wasting time अब नहीं, अब पढ़ाई होगी डिजिटल, अब बिजनेस होगा डिजिटल, अब साइन करेंगे डिजिटल, स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं डिजिटल, अब इंडिया बनेगा डिजिटल. Thank you very much everyone.